Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 8, Episode 7. We are chugging right along here as the weather starts to get nicer, as we get back from vacation. Absolutely sun-kissed to the nth degree. But we are back with another episode today. Dante and Jamie Bullhauer, father and son duo. We've been doing this podcast for now 87 episodes. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. We never rehearsed that. Sometime we're going to have to actually get that down. But today we are talking about how we represent ourselves in the creative kind of space, how our creativity kind of seeps into the different areas of our life that we kind of represent publicly for everybody to kind of see, whether it's kind of consciously or subconsciously. There's probably some of both.
Some of both.
And so that's our topic today, whether it be clothing, just like lingo maybe, the way you live, those types of things.
Well, and part of it, when I texted you about this, I was wearing this shirt. So people, and then look back, okay, I have like a ton of these shirts because I get one each year because I teach a class for Nebraska. So I have like a stack of these, and I tend to like black and I tend to like darker colors. And so I was just like, if you see Nebraska Wesleyan Honors Program, it's not the same shirt. It's probably not the same shirt. I just have so many of them. And it just got me thinking.
The design.
Yeah. And no, they did. There's two designs. There's a circle and then the...
I think I have the other one.
Yeah.
The other design.
And then you're known as the Jersey guy.
Unfortunately.
And even, and even our two of our guest, LM Design 8, her style and stuff, and Kevin KP, like, he's known for his hats, and he shares cool art with his poetry, and he's usually got a hat, and he and it's just kind of like, okay, as a creative, are you thinking about how you represent yourself in your dress, in your tone, in the things that you do in the real world and on social media?
Yeah, I think social media I can definitely see and realize how intentional I'm being with whether it's the way I talk or how many emojis I use or what photo comes first in the photo set on Instagram, things like that. I definitely at least want to be represented a certain way. I feel it's kind of a serious but also fun. I mean, it's kind of a paradox there, but it's like, obviously I do a lot of sports stuff. Those are kind of more serious captions, not a lot of emojis, more kind of periods, short sentences like proud of the guys or stuff like that, where when it's kind of addressing clients, it's a lot more upbeat, fun, friendly. Sunglasses emoji is the one I use all the time. That is a very intentional thing that I want to put out there, which is why I always delete my sports tweets when I'm either mad or happy about sports, because I want my overall representation to be...
And that's important.
Yeah. And so, like, when I tweet mad about the Husker football or Celtics, whatever... Every morning I'm like, all right, let's just go delete those, because that's not what I want to be represented as. But it's just, I like tweeting during games, even though nobody ever sees them. But
but the problem is they do.
But it's not like they don't get as much engagement.
No,
yeah, stuff.
And I think the social media part for any creative, and it's been around for a while now, the idea that you're a brand, no matter what you're doing actually anymore. But as a creative, especially if you're going to try to make a living out of your creativity, whatever it is, you have to be very intentional in that regard. I have lots of opinions about stuff. I don't really tweet, Instagram. I just don't do it. I don't do it. I every once in a while I might engage in a small conversation, but I and it's a little bit personal on my end. I'm like, that is, social media is such, it's just basically our private conversations we normally would have with family and friends and maybe stuff, and now we just broadcast it to the world so everybody can jump into our conversations. And I'm just like, that's not what I want to use social media for. So I'm intentional in regards of, this is why I use social media. And so Instagram, to a degree, part of that, my weird photos and stuff is a part of how I use Instagram. That's how I use it. You're going to find a bunch of unique, just odd or trying
mostly photos taken on walks.
Most photos taken on walks, or a different,
or blurry photos of you walking out of the bedroom.
Or just different, things with that. So I think that is imperative for anybody in any situation, but since the creatives, especially if you're starting out, you are a brand. You kind of are a brand, especially if you're an indie author and you don't have anything behind you. Like, you really gotta pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, because one misstep off brand, really, that's the one tweet or Instagram or post that all your audience notices for whatever reason, because they're always looking for just subconsciously something negative to pick at. So the one thing that tails off, whether it's political or sports or whatever, they'll be drawn to that and say, yeah, that's not the Dante Bullhauer I know, or like, that's not the old Peter McKinnon like we've talked about. Why are you doing this film photo now? You should be doing these photos with the Canon R5, whatever. And so social media is a big one because that stuff is there forever. In terms of flipping it over to like the, for example, clothing side, I think that is a lot more of a subconsciously consumed perception, whereas you wear a tie to work every day. That obviously, subconsciously, but also a little consciously, gives a different perception than if you showed up in a jersey every day like I do to work. And part of the reason I wear jerseys is just because I'm a sports fan and I don't like farmer's tans. But also now in like the NSA circles, like for spring and fall events where it's outdoors, everybody knows, oh, that's Dante. Yeah. He's wearing the shorts and the jersey, or the shorts and the t-shirt. And so that's kind of more brand recognition for me. That, oh yeah, that's the guy that does the videos. I know that's him because he wears the jerseys and the shorts, whatever, not just the jeans and the jacket, whatever that everybody else wears. But it does give kind of the perception and the representation of me creatively as maybe not as pro-grade, buttoned-up, corporate, I guess, feel.
But that's an interesting component, though. But you're also, in that field, you're doing mostly sports hype stuff.
Which is directly kind of this.
So you know what I'm saying? So is it a good play in your field? Like,
I think so, because I do dress differently for the corporate shoots. I do dress differently for the kind of corporate meetings. But if you look the part, you tend to fit the part a little better. And so, like, just specifically with what I wear when I am doing what I'm doing, I feel like it coincides with the representation that I want, and also kind of gives me the creative persona, I guess, of the style that I bring to the client.
Yeah. Well, and just, because being in school with you and stuff, especially we had Jersey Thursdays with you guys at that class, and like they don't have that anymore, and so that aspect of the personal expression, the authentic look, but yet still to be cognitive of what you're doing, I think is a balance. I think it's a balance. And you did mention that you do change, depending on the customer. And again, because you do have to give, you are very customer oriented. And so their input or their perception matters. And to a degree, some people might disagree. No, you should just be you and do, but
I go back and forth on that a little bit. Because, so I had a meeting with the Hastings Economic Development Chamber or whatever. I just brought extra clothes to my office to change into. I'm like, this isn't me dress-wise, but I will still be me in the meeting. And so I don't know what, like, I kind of flip-flop. Like, should I just be me? Like, hey, this is just me. Or should I just make this very, very small sacrifice of putting a polo on?
Oh my God, polo. I wear a tie almost every day.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting aspect. And for people, I think, especially people starting out, I think it's really important to consider this. Now, if you're a veteran and you got your style, you got there's a little bit of free because you have generated that you've created that LM Design 8. She's like, that's her drip. Like that, like everybody knows because it's what she shows in the virtual reality world and in real life. And it's one of those cases. I bet going to meetings and stuff, she does that. But I think you have to still. I don't personally really enjoy wearing a tie. And I know this is in education, but education has its own art aspect to it too. But I'm all like, I am a professional, I don't do the Gene Friday thing. I don't care if other teachers do. That's not just like, I'm trying to get you to learn. I'm trying to get you to better yourself. So I always think of that. In the poetry aspect, though, when I went and did my workshops last summer and stuff, and then my last slam competition for the representing state number was one of those contrasts of I think I dressed well for the workshops and things like that. There's, older generation stuff. I didn't wear a tie or anything, but still kind of was poetic in my vibe. But I think I overdressed in the slam competition. And I kind of stood out, even though I still wear jeans and stuff. And then also my poetry. And this is the cool part, because my first poem at that slam competition was an open letter to a poem I'm afraid to write. And it's a powerful, and I know my look didn't match that poem. It didn't match the poem. And I think that was a disconnect there for the audience, kind of like, what? Who is this? Because I did wear a polo. Tucked in. Yeah, it didn't match. It didn't match, and I ended up. I'm not saying that's the exact reason I got last, but I think it kind of.
Well, yeah, staying kind of on the clothing line. I had an interesting debate just class wide in I think 8th grade with Mr. Jacobitz about specifically clothing.
Yeah, I can see that.
How he asked us if it looks like he would care more or less if he came in wearing what he wears on like Saturday nights, just sitting on the couch, like in sweats, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we were like, yeah, if you came in wearing that, it'd probably look like you cared less about your job and you weren't as qualified or whatever. Just the perception would not be the same as you coming in with the button up and the clothes that he wears. And so he kind of threw it back at us. And at the time, we're stupid 8th graders. We're like, it doesn't matter what we wear. We're fine. Like, whatever. It doesn't affect our learning, whatever. But there is a certain principle of that perception where if you look the part, you fit the part. And if I look like I'm a sports guy, like, for example, at state basketball, I'll be dribbling the ball around before the guys come in. And I'll just, do some weird I know a lot of weird things, a lot of weird basketball kind of tricks, I guess. So I'll do a couple of those to kind of help. It's kind of to show off because whatever, but it's also kind of to help them feel more comfortable. I'm not
you're not
a corporate photographer.
School photographers smile.
Right. So they feel more comfortable that the poses that I'm giving them are cool and that they can get into them more instead of me here's the ball, let's just put it up here and smile. Where if they know, like, okay, he looks like he knows sports, they feel more comfortable around me, and it's way easier to get the shoot done.
Yeah.
And so it, like, there is just this weird subconscious thing that you have to be conscious of, that the audience or consumer is going to consume with your dress, your tweets, the way you talk, the music you have on when they come into the classroom or whatever, that you need to be aware of, because it does all play a factor into how you and your content is consumed.
Yeah. It is, and I'm not saying that you have to be a different person for different things, but depending on what your big goals are creatively and who your audience is and what you want to say, way you appear is a statement. It says something, and whether they misinterpret it at times, that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is for what our goals and things are and what we're trying to convey. And it doesn't matter, social media, real world, Zoom meeting, type of thing. I think it is an important aspect, especially if you're trying to make your living as a creative. It's just it's a part of the overall package. It's just an interesting aspect of self-discovery too, I think, a little bit. I'm not going to dress that way ever again for a slam poem competition. I know what I was trying to do, but then I also got it, that's an area I've been working on, just to understand and to do better in. And so there are the unwritten rules about aspects, some things along those lines. And I think that holds true for whatever and whoever your audience is. And I think that's just like your creative work. Your creativity as a person, as you dress, as you think, as you respond, plays a role.
Yeah. And I don't think that changing in slight aspects how you're represented necessarily means you're being fake or you're putting on for anybody. Because, like, I put on a polo for that meeting. That does not mean I acted differently than I would have if I was wearing a jersey. I still, my posture was the same. I was maybe a little more buttoned up with my responses and just how I was going to, communicate with them, because I wanted it to be correct and in line with what we both wanted. But I was still me. And so if you change small parts, it doesn't necessarily...
Just because you're wearing a jersey doesn't mean you're not concerned about the professionalism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's that part that we are all complex people. And we all... the reverse, sometimes...
Just because I'm wearing this doesn't mean I'm taking the job less seriously than someone who's wearing something a lot nicer.
Yes. But in different aspects, like when you're on the court, or on the football field, it's the vibe. It's part of the vibe. LM Design 8, her vibe and stuff just has influenced me a little bit. And, she's authentic. She wore with that. But we do get judged. We do have perceptions. Part of the game. You got to play the game a little bit.
Yeah. And you can see when those people are putting on a show, when those people don't quite understand where their creative representation publicly falls in line with who they really are.
Yes.
It's just kind of you just feel that little disconnect of, this is not actually how you talk, like social media. People that caption their Instagram photos or whatever, that's not how you talk. I know you, this is not you, and it comes across a little abrasive when you are trying to not be you. I know I get talked about by other media guys that I'm always wearing shorts, never wearing pants, never in the spring I'm wearing the jerseys, whatever. I've heard it. We make jokes about it with the media guys that I know. But at the end of the day, it's me. I'm still working just as hard as I do, no matter what I was wearing, but it's me. And I feel a lot more comfortable being in that space where I know I'm representing myself as Dante Bullhauer, even if I have started to kind of feel like, okay, maybe jerseys are a little unprofessional, but you know what? That's just who I am. That's a brand I've built, and I kind of enjoy that I am different from the standard, I guess, media member.
But it's also, as we've already touched upon, it's been part of you growing up too. So the baseline is you got to be authentic. Be authentic. Like that seems the new buzzword a little bit on social media about figuring out the fake from the, and that people are with AI and everything, that real authentic stuff is going to be the new drive. But anyway. But I think that's true. I do think I look good in a tie, and I teach, and I like that. But when I am doing other things, or I get the chance to go to the author events, and I try to look a little bit on the poetry side, I guess. I don't know if there's a poet exactly, but I do dress a little bit. Because mom's always like, why do you don't tuck your shirts in? Because I hardly, even if I'm wearing a polo, a lot of times you'll find me without it tucked in. That's just so I will look that way when I'm at an author's event. I'll have a polo maybe, but it's untucked, and I got my undershirt. I got that look. So be authentic, but know your audience, and know that your audience is taking in your creative work with your expression, whether it's on social media or with your clothing or your attitude, or things like that. It matters. You got to be cognitive of that if you're going to try to move forward in your goals and things.
Yeah, so
something a little bit different this time,
yeah,
but I think just as important.
Yeah, and just for any kind of creatives that maybe are trying to figure that kind of thing out of where does my perception representation of me creatively fall in line with who I am? At the end of the day, like you said, just be authentic and pick your spots is the wrong phrase, but know where you have to mold one part of your representation, your perception, but also still keep in mind that the backbone of your creative identity needs to stay the same.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess the last little thing, this more social media is try not to just fly off at one time and just get be something different, or because we all can get tired, we can all get angry, man, in social media, if you do something, you fly off of brand, I guess you might say, that could really hurt more than at the moment, because
your audience follows you for what you are, and if you completely do a 180 without notice, you'll lose a lot of that audience and find yourself having to build from the ground up. Really. That was our Season 8, Episode 7 episode of The Creative Moment. We are on, again, all the channels, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those places. We've, just like you said, had an interview a couple episodes ago now with LM Designs 8. That was a super cool interview. If you haven't checked that out yet, definitely go and check that out, as well as any other episodes that you might have missed. So thank you guys as always. Leave a like, a comment, anything. Start a conversation in the replies or anything like that. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.